I took a group of kids, students, to an amusement park, and we're there on the roller coaster and we're getting strapped in, and there's something that's keeping us from taking off on this roller coaster, and the guys at the booth, the control booth, are trying to figure it out, and they're kind of talking back and forth, and I have no idea what's going on, and they after some time goes on, they walk up to me and they tell me that I'm too big to ride on this ride, and the safety restraint couldn't come down far enough. That was just devastating, very embarrassing to me.
At 350 pounds, riding roller coasters wasn't the only thing Nick Cerda couldn't do.
I couldn't run at all without being out of breath, and I couldn't play with our child, our son at the time. I mean, I would play with him, but I always was tired. And since I had a weight problem my whole adult life, I just assumed that was life.
If fatigue wasn't a big enough clue that Nick needed to take off the weight, his body size should have been. But it wasn't.
Every time I saw pictures of myself or saw my reflection, there was something inside of me that didn't like what it saw, but not enough that it bothered me to do something about it. I found food as a source of, feeling good, and if I got stressed out, even as a kid, I would turn to food for comfort.
Then Nick got a wake-up call. He had hurt his wrist and went to see a doctor. Doctor told him his wrist wasn't the problem.
Rather than diagnosing my wrist problem, she just looked at me and said, "You're overweight to the point that it's dangerous." Then that conversation showed me how far I had let the problem go.
Nick decided it was time to do something. His wife Heather suggested that the entire family develop healthier eating habits. They began eating whole grains and lean proteins. It was just what Nick needed to jumpstart his new endeavor. Little by little, the weight came off.
My first goal was to get down under 300, and I just told myself, that would be a starting goal, to get under 300. Then as I crept closer to 300, then I was like, well, how about 250?
He also began to exercise.
And it was simple as just walking. I'd stick on shoes and clothes and just go for a walk. I would set a goal, I'd complete the goal, and right as I was about to complete that goal, I'd set a new goal. And constantly setting those smaller goals got me here.
He says God helped him stick to his plan.
One thing that really motivated me, particularly as, I would stall sometimes and the pounds dropping off. They weren't coming off as quickly. I didn't want to get up and go to the gym, was just knowing my identity in Jesus Christ. And it says in the scriptures, God has called you and He is faithful and He will do it.
As the weight came off, Nick began to make other goals for himself, like running a 5K race.
It was painful. It wasn't a real enjoyable process.
He kept at it and now runs 25 to 30 miles a week. More importantly, he now weighs only 199 pounds. That's over 150 pounds of weight loss.
So I feel just empowered now to even speak greater about discipline. And it is a spiritual issue with food. Food is not our crutch. Food is not our comfort. That's God's alone. That's God's place.